Indianapolis business, religious news, entertainment point of view, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment news, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment news, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment news.
And welcome. It is another beautiful Thursday here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and you are listening to the Recorder Report, the great show sponsored by the Indianapolis Recorder newspaper. And today, Ebony Chappel will not be in, but we are just honored and blessed to have CICF in the house, the Central Indiana Community Foundation that is helping great organizations here in the city of Indianapolis and Indiana continue to thrive and empower our community. And today, we have a special guest host in, Ms. Tamara Winfrey-Harris, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Communications, and she will be facilitating the show today. Tamara, welcome in to RadioNext.tv.
Thank you. I am going to try really, really hard to fill Ebony's shoes. It won't be easy. I am a native of Gary, Indiana, and I have lived in Central Indiana for almost 13 years. And for the last year, I have been Vice President for Marketing and Communications at Central Indiana Community Foundation, or CICF for short, to make it easy. And I'm going to be your host today. And you know, when I tell people I work for CICF, usually they look at me kind of quizzically and they go, what does CICF do? And that's because community foundations can be a little complicated, and a lot of people don't know what they do. CICF does quite a few different things, but to put it simply, we're in the business of making our neighborhoods a better place for everybody every day. So we believe that for Indianapolis and Central Indiana to thrive in the 21st century, we as a community must do an outstanding job of not just developing and attracting and retaining highly educated and creative and entrepreneurial and community-minded citizens, but most importantly, we aspire to better create a culture in which every person in Central Indiana is awarded the opportunity to reach their greatest potential. I'm excited to be with you today. We're going to dive deeper into what a community foundation is and what it does, because whether you know it or not, what we do at CICF probably impacts you in more than one way. You are going to meet Drew Black. He is a CICF grants officer. He's going to join me shortly. And then later, a few of our grantees will stop by to talk about the great work that they're doing in the community. Plus, we're going to talk about the $1.1 million in scholarships that CICF, its affiliates, and its major funds awarded this year, and how students can apply for that assistance. But first, I feel like in order for you to understand what CICF is and does, we have to go back in time just a little bit. Well, 101 years to be exact. In 1916, the Indianapolis Foundation, which is now an affiliate of CICF, was established to provide a place for people to donate their estate so that it would be invested and then distributed to local not-for-profit organizations and projects over the years. So think of this. So before community foundations, people would gift their estates to organizations or causes, but sometimes it would happen that those causes were no longer needed. So for example, one guy in Cleveland requested that his estate be used to ensure that a horse trough was on every corner of the street in perpetuity, because of course we're using horses to get around. Guess what? With the invention of cars, that was no longer necessary. So with the creation of community foundations, money can be invested and eventually granted to organizations addressing the city's most pressing needs, the most pressing needs of that day. So now the Indianapolis Foundation awards about $7 million to Central Indiana organizations annually. And in 1997, the Indianapolis Foundation joined with Legacy Fund, which is the community foundation serving Hamilton County, and they have served Hamilton County since 1991, to form the Central Indiana Community Foundation. And now here we are back in 2017. The assets accumulated by CICF and its affiliates equal about $721 million. That gives us a lot of grant-making power. But awarding grants isn't all that we do. So to make it easy, we do three things. First, we help people invest in the causes that matter most to them. We work with donors and their families to uncover their values and interests, which are used as a guide to help individuals and families award grants to organizations that match their interests. Second, we convene civic leaders and act on innovative ideas. For example, CICF was the lead fundraiser and convener for the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, a legacy of Gene and Marilyn Glick. So if you've ever been on the Cultural Trail downtown, we were a big part of that. CICF also incubated and launched locally Center for Working Families, a model that many Central Indiana community centers have adopted. Helps families access education and financial tools to become more self-sufficient. And lastly, we award grants to effective not-for-profit organizations doing good work. And I thought I might share with you, since we're taking over the Indianapolis Recorders podcast, some of our work in the African American community. One example of our dedication to building up thriving neighborhoods is our investment in Martindale-Brightwood, where 93% of the population is African American. Over 15 years, CICF has invested and leveraged more than $15 million, facilitated significant capital improvement investments, and connected a variety of funders to transform 37 Place, a former IPS school in Martindale-Brightwood, into a community center, which is Edna Martin Christian Center. This community center also utilizes Center for Working Families, which I mentioned earlier. Summer programming for youth, Art with a Heart, which serves 80% participants of color. And last year, as part of the Indianapolis Foundation's 100th anniversary, we gave away a surprise $1 million, and more than $500 of that was awarded to people of color and African American-led organizations serving the Black community, like Center for Leadership Development and Asante Children's Theater. We're actually going to have Keisha Dixon and Deborah Asante here a little later, and Edna Martin Christian Center. And part of that money also went to place diverse young leaders on powerful Indianapolis boards. 8 African American and Latino men and women are being given $10,000 a year for 3 years to activate in those positions, along with quarterly leadership training. So this seems like a good time to bring in someone with a little more experience in the grant-making area to elaborate on some of what I just told you. We will be back after this short break to hear from Drew Black, Senior Community Investment Officer for CICF. Welcome back. I am Tamara Winfrey-Harris, and I'm sitting in for Ebony Chappel. You are listening to the Recorder Report. And as I promised before we left, here with me is Drew Black, Senior Community Investment Officer for CICF. Hello, Drew.
Hey, Tamara. Thank you for having me.
So, you're a Senior Community Investment Officer. What is that? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, no, really good question. Well, so for a foundation to maintain its charitable status, you have to spend down 5% of the assets that you're holding to put back into the community. And so CICF, the last I checked, was the 23rd largest community foundation in the country. We have about $750 million in assets. to remain tax exempt. So we have to spend 5% of that down. That's about $38 million a year that we invest back into the community. And it is my job as a senior community investment officer to make recommendations to our respective boards on how to best provide support to the community to make maximum impact.
So before we talk about the grants process, tell us a little bit about you. How does one become a community investment officer?
Yeah.
What is the pathway to that?
So we have about 8 folks on our team, all really dynamic, all with varying backgrounds. Some of us have experience in government. Some of us have experience in nonprofit management, youth development, education, community organizing. We have a dynamic team with really nice skill sets to do this work. My specific background is in government. When I graduated from Indiana University back in 2006, I moved out to Washington, D.C. to work for my hometown member of Congress, Julia Carson, at the time, and spent a couple of years with Julia, and moved back here after the 2010 midterm elections. And in D.C., I was managing the appropriations process, so now I'm doing that work in a different way, and in a lot more important way, I think, and focusing on projects that we can go out and see are making a difference in the central Indiana community.
So how does the department work? What does the day in a life of a community investment officer look like?
Yeah, well, we all maintain issue-based portfolios. So while I'm a senior community investment officer, my work is generally limited to youth development programming, summer youth program funds, arts and culture initiatives, anything related to the environment and animal welfare. We have other community investment officers that focus on education or crime prevention, on health and human services. Any of the needs that are specific to our community at this time, we have someone on it. And so we manage those issue-based portfolios. What we do is we maintain a due diligence process. So we have open applications twice a year at CICF for anybody out there that has a 501c3 or a fiscal agent to come in and seek support. And we work with those organizations on, learning what they do, developing a partnership, really understanding what the need is in the community and how they're developing solutions to meet that need. And that's a process to go through that, build that relationship. And over months of time, we work together on an application, through that application. And if everything checks out and it remains competitive, then we make recommendations to our boards whether or not that specific request should be funded.
So I've always thought about what you do. You can tell me whether this is right. It's your job to be sort of a specialist, an expert on what's going on in the community on whatever your given area is. So
Right.
If you're the community investment officer working in education, it's your job to understand the education landscape
Absolutely.
in Marion and Hamilton County, to understand the research,
That's
to
right.
know who the players are, to know who the organizations are. Is
Yeah.
that kind of what you do?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. It is, you develop subject matter expertise. A lot of our folks on staff have that expertise from previous experiences, professional experiences. So it's all the things that you mentioned, but primarily, our interest is in, yes, there are a lot of stakeholders in this area that are doing work, whether it be in education, food insecurity, arts and culture. But what our concern is how does that work relate to people in our community? Is it really is it changing lives? Is what they're doing impactful? And so, what we do is try to assess that impact and cut through, almost the middleman to get to people here and figure out, are we meeting their needs? Are we pushing the needles in these areas? And so we come together in a collaborative fashion with these organizations, but with the sole interest of, the residents of Central Indiana in mind.
So can anyone apply for a grant? I mean, there must be lots of people listening who perhaps have their own not-for-profit organizations. What makes an organization eligible?
Yeah, really good question. So you have to have a 501c3. Foundations can't make grants to individuals, and so you need to be part of a larger organization. And if you are, a burgeoning nonprofit, just starting out, grassroots, but you're doing great work, then we would encourage you to find a fiscal agent. So find a larger nonprofit partner that has kind of the backbone support that you would need, in terms of their accounting process, and perhaps working with you on a grant request, and they can help you. But you have to have a 501c3 tax exempt status on your current application or a fiscal agent.
So what are the criteria? So when you're looking at who gets a grant and who doesn't, what are the things that you assess?
Yeah, so many things. And it will come as no surprise to anybody listening that needs in this community are vast, and we'll never, no matter how much money the foundation may hold, we'll never have enough. There'll never be enough financial resource to meet actual community need. So we are seeing record levels of competition right now. For example, so last year, the Indianapolis Foundation, one of our funds, one of our largest community endowed funds, saw $14 million in requests. And for that $14 million, we had just over $4 million. We had about $4.9 million to invest back in the community in that fund. So for every dollar requested, that's about 35 cents that we have available. And so it really, to be competitive, there are a couple key things, and I'll keep it real simple because we can get down into the weeds on this, but I don't want to take anybody there. But we look at a couple things. We look at, if an organization is applying for a grant, are they capable of executing that grant as stated? Is the proposal feasible? Is it something that can actually be done? We appreciate vision and lofty goals, but we have to be real about this too. And so we need to make sure that a grant request is feasible. It has to be, above all else, it has to be important, right? There are organizations that come to us for funding, but what we care about are the people that they're serving. And so if there's not an immediate impact on the people that they're serving as a result of our investment, then that's something that is difficult to get behind. So it primarily is about the impact on people in the community. And then, we want to make sure that you have other partners that you're working with, you're leveraging resources. We want all of our nonprofits to thrive into the future. And to do that, they have to plan well financially. And so we typically don't invest more than 30% of an overall project budget, because if you don't receive CICF support next year, we want to know that the people that you're serving still will receive service, because you've put together, you've woven together a fabric of funding that isn't too dependent on one source. And so those are all some of the things that we look at. But like I said, primarily it is about impacts to your end user.
So what advice would you give for someone who's listening, who has an idea or who already has a 501c3, who's not on CICF's radar? What advice would you give them? Yeah,
that's a really good question. So I don't want this to sound cut and dry, like this is just about applications that are filed with CICF and that we move through a process. We are about building partnerships. All of our grantee organizations we see as partners. We have the mutual mission of changing the lives of people in this community for the better, no matter what the subject matter might be. And so, if you have a great idea, we want to know about it. We're here. We are not institutional. We are the community foundation. We're approachable. We're accessible. You can find all of our contact information on the website. We encourage you to reach out. We want to develop a partnership with you. If you have a good idea for a proposal, let's talk through it first. Before you hit submit on that application, let's talk through it. Let's make sure that it's as competitive as possible. Let's make sure that you have some baseline data as to showing that there is an actual need in the community based on the work that you're doing. And we also want to use that baseline data to be able to show what kind of impact you're making. And so, we'll work through all of that with you, all the technicalities with you, because it's not necessarily about the organization as much as it's about improving the lives of people.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about donors, because I know they're a big part of what CICF does. So as a community investment officer, do you work at all with donors?
Yeah, definitely. So as I had referenced earlier, our community endowment pools are really competitive. And so, it's our job to align community need with resources to meet that need. We leave no stone unturned. And so, the paradigm shift nationally is that, community endowment pools, they don't grow that aggressively. And so we are all shifting to work with donors on the philanthropic services side of the house. to help them actualize their philanthropic desires, essentially. We have hundreds of family funds at CICF. They all have interests in work in the community, and so I work really closely with our philanthropic services team to help align those interests with where the needs are in the community. Provide greater resource, develop relationships, and make people feel really good about their giving.
So out of all of those things, you do a lot. What's the best part of your job?
There's so much that's great about it. I would say, for me, it is working with really talented nonprofit executive directors that are making huge differences in our community every day. We are very fortunate in this town to have the nonprofit leadership that we do. These people, and I'm looking at Keisha Dixon, who's here from Asante, who I know well, just one of those executives that really could be doing anything with their time. Could go out and be making a lot of money doing something else, somewhere else, but are working on behalf of their community and advancing their missions. And that's really invigorating to see that every day, to meet people that are passionate about changing the lives of vulnerable people, young people, those at risk in this community is a really exciting thing to be able to do. And to be part of that solution. I think that's what we try to do, is to lead on some of these issues and really try to make a difference.
I have to say that's one of the things I love about this job, and I don't get to work as directly with the community as you do, but it's wonderful to work for a place where you're making a difference and making the community better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about one of your other passions, which is Any Given Child.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and tell me about that?
Yeah, definitely. So as I had mentioned earlier, I handle arts and cultural requests to the Community Foundation, and over years of research, we have there's a lot of data that suggests that when kids have access to high-quality arts opportunities or are instructed through the arts on other subject matter, so teaching math or science or literacy through artistic experience, kids tend to perform better. They tend to do better on standardized tests. They tend to do better behaviorally. They're more engaged in classrooms. And so we're starting to find that not only that the arts improve quality of life, but they can serve as a learning accelerator and become wildly impactful for those that have access to high-quality opportunities. And so knowing that, we at CICF partnered with the Arts Council of Indianapolis, IPS, WFYI, the Mayor's Office, to bring a national model called Any Given Child from Washington, D.C.'s Kennedy Center of the Arts to the city. And what that does is it works with some of our more low-resource districts on making sure that every child in every classroom and every building has access to high-quality arts experiences. And so for the last 2 years, we've been heavily engaged in that. There have been 30 community-based organizations that have been a part of it. We are just coming out of the planning phases. We spent a lot of time working through it to figure out what it was going to look like on the ground for IPS, and it's going to be implemented in 2018. We're going to focus on priority schools with IPS and make sure that they have access to quality visual and 2D arts experiences, music experiences, dance and theater education experiences. So there are no gaps in service where gaps currently exist. And then on the other end of that continuum, we're going to work with high-performing arts buildings on integrating arts education instruction into their day-to-day material. So teachers feel equipped to teach math through the arts, teach science through the arts, which we think in turn will lead to greater student proficiency in terms of their academics, create greater engagement, and just better overall outcomes for students. And so we're just getting that started from an implementation phase, and are really excited to get it going.
So if you want to learn more about Any Given Child, Drew actually wrote a blog about that, and you can find it at our website at CICF.org, so CICF.org. So as a last question, how can someone apply for a grant at CICF?
Yeah, great question, Tamara. So every year we have 2 open application cycles. One takes place in the month of March, the other one in the month of October. The cycle is open from the first day of the month to midnight, the last day of the month. You have those 30 days essentially to put together a thoughtful request. I would encourage organizations that are interested in applying to reach out. You can reach out to me specifically, Andrew B. at CICF.org, to talk through your approach, and we'd welcome a request.
So, to learn more about how the team at CICF can help you invest in your passion or about grant opportunities, again, visit CICF.org, so CICF.org. Be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter, and when we come back, you'll hear from a few of our grantees. And thank you, Drew.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Recorder Report. Hey, this is Tamara Winfrey-Harris of CICF. We're taking over the Recorder Report today. And if you like what you're hearing, you should listen to our podcast, our new podcast called For Good, which is launching next month. We are looking at the people doing good work in the community. We're starting off with a podcast about personal mobility, about how we're trying to get better access or give people better access to opportunity by improving access to transportation. But first, we are here with Barbara Moore, Vice President of Philanthropic Programs of the Assistance League. We recently funded, the Indianapolis Foundation recently funded Operation School Bell with $20,000. Operation School Bell provides new clothing and shoes to Marion County students from low-income families. Hello and welcome, Barbara.
Thank you for having me today.
So tell me, I gave them the basics about Operation School Bell, but tell me a little bit more about the program.
Operation School Bell started in 1984 after we were certified as an organization and then became members of the National Assistance League in California. It is our premier program, and it has 3 divisions. One of them provides apparel that you just described to your audience, your listeners. The second provides shoes, and our newest program, which we project is going to grow the biggest, is called Beyond the Bell, providing apparel items directly to the school social workers for distribution to children that might become homeless, that have had a fire, or some other problem in their lives. Our goal is for them to be in school learning.
So can you tell me a little bit about the need for these things, for apparel here in Marion County?
The need is tremendous, and we only touch a fraction of what is needed. Since 1984, we've provided over 54,000 children with new apparel. And what really sets us off from other groups, agencies, is we do it one-on-one with the children. We have been partnered with IPS since, I want to say, 1986, where they provided a facility for us where we could house an actual retail shop, receive the new merchandise that we purchase from grantors and from members who donate. We operated that at the Cics building, which is the old Coca-Cola building, until they decided to sell that property. And then 2 years ago, they told us we had to move out of it, and we worked with IPS Facilities to find a new location, which is now Forest Manor Professional Development Center. We're in the basement. But it's absolutely fantastic because all of our programs operate out of that area. Social workers come and pick up the new merchandise to take back to their buildings from that location. We will be fitting 2,850 kids new athletic shoes and 6 pairs of socks in mid-September. And then our doors will open for the retail shop mid-August. August 14th is our opening day. And our theme this year is Creating a Brighter Tomorrow.
Do you have any great stories of the impact you've had on children's lives? I know you must.
Yes. Matter of fact, we worked with the Indiana Youth Institute and did a 3-year impact study to qualitate what we thought we were doing in the community. And what we found is bullying is less when a child is wearing new apparel. He doesn't look different from other kids because there are no holes in maybe the Goodwill khaki pair of pants that the parent got with the uniform requirements that many of the school districts are going to. They smile more. They look at me and say, is this toothbrush that is put in a hygiene kit really mine? I don't have to share it with a sibling. 6 pair of socks or 6 pair of underwear, whereas when you're working with a child, you might find he's not even wearing socks or underwear. So there's such need, and we are limited by the number of volunteers we have because the school systems will bus the children down to our retail shop, and we have a waiting room until they're called, and a volunteer will accompany them to the retail shop. They will give them choices. Girls are required to take 1 pair of pants, either khaki or navy blue, but they also have a choice of a jumper or a skirt, and that's their choice of what they want. We have dressing rooms that were built out by IPS for us, and they go into the dressing room and then come back out and show us how the clothes fit. So they're leaving with clothes that fit. And then they have a choice of, 3 different colored unisex shirts. So it's their choice of what colors they get to choose.
Seems like really important in building self-esteem and dignity.
Definitely.
Yes. So people in need or students who are in need who need these things, can they go directly to Assistance League, or do they need to work through their school or social worker?
They work through the social worker.
Okay.
The social worker refers them. They also try to get any sibling that might be in an older grade or a younger grade so that we're impacting the entire family. And these are children from kindergarten through 5th grade.
And you mentioned a need for volunteers.
Definitely.
If there are people who are interested in this program and would like to volunteer, what do they need to do?
They need to go up to our website, which is www.indy.org. We have a tremendous website that highlights our various programs, and they can contact us via that.
That's www.indy.org. So will you tell me more about Assistance League and what you do? And I know you have a lot of other great programs that people would be interested in.
We have 3 other programs. The first is called Alley Friends, Assistance League Friends, and we provide companionship and activities to adults at Joy's House, which is located at 62nd and Keystone. It's an adult day out program, the #1 in the country. And then once a month we provide bingo parties, birthday parties, celebrations at North Capitol Rehabilitation Center. And that is more of a facility where the adults stay there 24 hours a day. Our third program is called Alley Bears, and we provide teddy bears for adults and children who have had traumatic events in their lives. We provide Alley Bears to hospice centers, to pediatric centers of hope, and we have 22 different agencies where we deliver those bears, not just in Marion County, but down to Terre Haute, Kokomo, Madison County. And our last program is assault survivor kits, and unfortunately there is great need in our community to provide new garments once the violated person's clothing is removed by the police. They have to have something to wear other than the hospital gown. We service 23 hospitals and other centers that deal with women that might come several days after the traumatic event has happened. And unfortunately, that program is growing as well.
Well, Assistance League does tremendous work, and we definitely support them. And again, I want to direct people to www.alindy.com to learn about all of those programs and to offer their assistance as volunteers.
Yes, and it is an organization. alindy.org.
.org.
Yes,
Thank you. alindy.org.
correct.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you for
Barbara,
having me.
for joining us today. And thank you for all of the important work that you do in the community.
You're welcome.
Indianapolis business news, religious news, entertainment point of view, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment news, Indianapolis business news, religious news, entertainment point of view, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment news. Business news, religious news, entertainment news.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Recorder Report, and I'm Tamara Winfrey-Harris of CICF, sitting in for Ebony Chappel of the Indianapolis Recorder. You know, I like to ask you to visit womensfund.org. Women's Fund, which is a special interest fund of CICF, this summer did an amazing thing. They convened 9 cities, 42 college campuses, and a host of other chambers and organizations to join the national campaign to change direction, focused on mental health, removing the stigma surrounding mental health. And all of those organizations also made a pledge that they would teach every citizen in central Indiana the 5 signs of emotional pain within 5 years. So the 5 signs of emotional pain, which could be depression, which is a significant issue in the African American community, unchecked and untreated mental illness. So I'm just going to share with you the 5 signs. If you find that you or someone around you is not feeling like themselves, they're feeling agitated, they are withdrawn, they aren't caring for themselves, or feeling hopeless, those are the 5 signs, then they need help. And if you would like links to help and suggestions on how to deal with mental illness and understanding the 5 signs, or campaign to change direction, you should visit womensfund.org. But back in this room, we're making connections. So Barbara, you just heard from Assistance League, was just exchanging information with my next guest, Tony Williamson, the Executive Director of St. Florian Center, which is celebrating its 25th year. It's a summer camp, and you can raise the roof. It's good. It is a summer camp and employment training led by local firefighters. You've served 30,000 youth since 1993. They recently received a $42,000 grant from Summer Youth Program Fund, which is actually a collaboration of 11 local and national funding partners, including the Indianapolis Foundation. And St. Florian Center is named after the patron saint of firefighters.
Absolutely.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. We are excited to be here.
So tell us about this wonderful program. 25 years, 30,000 students. That's amazing.
Well, if our listening audience could see my face, they would see a huge smile. I am a 32-year veteran on the Indianapolis Fire Department, and we love serving our community. Absolutely. We love giving of ourselves. We are willing to risk our lives to go to places where everybody else is running in, but we are reactive in the community. Well, in 1992, we decided that we needed to be proactive in working with our young people, because most of society was writing off our young people. They said they couldn't learn, they were violent, they need to be locked up. I mean, all of the negative stereotypes, and they were speaking about kids that were not even born yet. And I couldn't believe it, because I knew young people, if you just give them an opportunity to succeed, they will amaze you. So we started our program at Riverside Community Center, and we had about 40 middle school kids, ages 10 to 13. And we basically they were referred to us from different schools. We got kids out of gangs. We saw neighborhood kids that had that hopeless expression on their face. And we put together a 10-week summer camp focusing on leadership development, respect, responsibility, goal setting, time management, all of those key character components so they could be successful in life. We wanted them to dream about not only what's going on right now, but what could be in the future, and then not just dream about it, but to have the tools to be able to make those dreams come true. And so we had a great time our very first year. The only issue was we could not control the environment. So as we were pulling kids out of gangs were still coming and getting our kids out of the Riverside Community Center. So we were truly blessed to be able to go over to Butler University for the next 10 years. And we not only expanded our program from just the middle school program, which is a 10 to 13 program, but we wrote a grant to CICF, and we were able to bring on their siblings, ages 6 to 9. Again, we worked on the character development, the teamwork, the trust, and the program just blossomed. Well, when kids were 13 years old, they did not want to leave the program. And there's not very many high school programs in the city. So we wrote another grant, and our young people helped us to write the grant, and that was the most empowering piece about it, because they had a chance to participate in the process, which determined their future direction. So we were able to get a high school grant to where we focused on youth employment, things to get a job, keep a job, excel at a job, and start your own business. So they did the resume writing, they did the interviews, all of those components that would allow them to go to work in the community, and then they would shadow 2 days a week. Well, all I can say is for the next 25 years, we have been going strong. We have expanded the program from just a summer camp to after school programs, to rites of passage programs, to reading programs. But it all started with the summer. So we typically enroll 100 boys and girls. We are supposed to enroll 100 boys and girls. But most firefighters have bleeding hearts, so we always go over a few extra kids just because it's so hard for us to say no. And to see them come into the program week one, it's a 7-week program, by the way, and each week we have a different focus. The first week is leadership, teamwork, health and safety, and then we move into the second week, a more creative week, because our kids are so talented, and a lot of times we don't know it as adults. We have to allow them to bring those talents out, and again, they will amaze you. So we have an Art with a Heart program. They have a talent show and a parent luncheon, which is actually coming up this Friday, by the way. And then we go into a STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math. We teach them, again, our business component, where the kids actually identify their business strengths to go out and impact the community. So they identify a target market, and then they put together businesses to reach out to that target market, and they get them to actually come to our summer camp, and they run a business. They run a bank, they run the inventory, they check their supply and demand. I mean, it is simply amazing. So yes,
Sounds
25
amazing.
years, it is a great, great, great time.
So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to St. Florian Center's website. That's St. Florian, Saint spelled out SAINT, Florian,
Yes.
FLORIAN, IAN Center CENTER.org St. Florian Center.org.
Yes.
So I know you must, over all that time, you must have some amazing stories of impact. Can
Without
you
a
think
doubt.
of, one young person that, you've affected? And
it's not hard to even to think about it. Every year, as a youth organization and executive director, a lot of times you spend so many hours in the program and you get tired. Well, there are programs that allow us to renew ourselves so we get back in the game. But my renewal is simply when I see a cadet out in public and they come up and they say, "Firefighter Tony." I applied all of that in class. I don't sit in the back of the classroom anymore. I sit up front. My teacher asked me what in the world happened to me over the summer because they had some challenges the previous school year, but now they're on the honor roll. Kids that never thought about it. All they wanted to do was play sports, and now they're participating in student government. It's amazing because they've been exposed to it. The fear is gone. But if I had to pick out one, which is hard, making my way around to the question, we have a young man that was homeless, lived in his car with his family, and didn't have money to pay. Didn't matter. We said, just come. Just come. We'll take care of that. And they did. They came year after year after year. Amazing. Lived in a car with his family. He ended up graduating from high school. A young man. Now that's major right there. Because he was being pulled into the other element, into the other world. Graduated from high school. Went to Anderson University. Graduated with honors from Anderson University. I had mentioned our business program. He ended up enrolling in the business master's program, and he contacted me and said, "Firefighter Tony, the terminology that you presented in summer camp, they didn't even know it in his master's program because we talk about monopolies and oligopolies and, again, supply and demand, all the terminology, because we want to make it real life scenario in our summer camp, not something that you cannot put your hand on." So he graduated with his master's. He went on to Howard University, got his law degree from Howard University, and now he's working as an attorney for the government. Absolutely incredible. A person that the world wrote off. If they saw him walking down the street, they would say, "He'll be locked up." And look at him now. He just had his first child the other day. I'm so excited. Excuse me, I get excited talking about my babies. But it boils down to caring adults. Caring adults willing to take the time to pour into these young people and share what they could be, what they could do, and give them an opportunity to do it. Stop telling them everything. Stop yelling at them all the time. Give them an opportunity to be themselves and let their light shine within them. And I can go on and on with stories like that. I have so many. A young lady who has sickle cell was with us at age 9. She said, "Firefighter Tony, when I grow up, I'm going to discover a cure for sickle cell." She is a doctor right now, working on a cure. I could go on and on and on. We have so many people who have started their own businesses, people that are high executives, young man working for Pepper Construction. As a junior in college, he ended up getting hired after we introduced the STEM program, the engineering program, and he got involved in that program and ended up going to Purdue University, ended up being hired by Pepper Construction. After he graduated from Purdue, he ended up getting on a chance meeting with the actual owner that asked him to do something special. He did a computer presentation to him, and they added him to their executive staff. And now he has saved a couple of construction projects in Chicago. It's just amazing.
This is amazing.
It's amazing.
Amazing work. StFlorianCenter.org.
Yes.
And I just wanted, so this program, if you did nothing else, this program is fantastic. But I know you have some other programs.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Absolutely. Because of the school to prison pipeline, we understand that reading is a huge component. A lot of young people, they may act up in school because they cannot read and comprehend. So we have a reading program designed at a couple of schools that we have adopted. Every grade level, we go there once a week, and we work with those grade levels to encourage them to read, comprehend what they're reading. They go home and read with their parents. They come back with a paper sign stating how much they've read, and we have them present that information to the class, and we give out awards and prizes for that. Incredible. Grade levels, reading and comprehension grade levels have gone up. We have a rites of passage program for young boys. We host that at Phillips Temple Church and at School 79. We have 2 programs. And that's designed so they can understand themselves culturally and how that affects the entire community and the family. So we work on these 7 Nguzo Saba principles, and the kids, they work hard at that, starting their own business. Or if my brother or my sister hurts, I hurt. And if they're successful, then I'm successful. And that's what we have to get to. We have to stop worried about big me, little you. We have to work together on being successful. So that's really incredible. And then our after school program, we help the kids with their homework, and then we teach them leadership development skills and principles. We share with them prevention skills, alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, and violence prevention. So my real job is a firefighter, but my passion is working with our youth and seeing I'm excited when they're excited.
Again, great work happening in our community. St. Florian Center, SAINTFLORAIIAN. I can spell center.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Welcome back. You're listening to Recorder. I just lost it. Recorder Report. We're having too much fun in here. I'm Tamara Winfrey-Harris, sitting in for Ebony Chappel. And just a reminder, CICF is the result of a partnership between the Indianapolis Foundation and Legacy Fund that does work every day for Hamilton County. So if you're in Hamilton County, be sure that you visit legacyfund.org. And also follow CICF on social media. You can find us on Facebook at Central Indiana Community Foundation, and you can find us on Twitter at CIC Foundation. But we are here with Miss Keisha Dixon of the Asante Children's Theater.
Yay,
welcome,
whoa.
Keisha.
Yay,
So last year during Indianapolis Foundation's 100th anniversary,
girl, don't start with that.
we had at our If 100 gala, we gave away some surprise visionary awards, and one of them went $100,000.
Say that
went
again.
to $100,000.
Yes.
Went to Asante Children's Theater. Keisha told me I had to say it like that. Theater, for their wonderful work
Yes.
in the community. So tell the people listening, and I know people know you and they know Asante, but tell us about some of that work you've been doing in the community and for how long.
Well, the Asante Children's Theater started in 1990. This is 2017. Do the math. I know.
Yeah.
We're ending our 27th season. For some of you had to go to your purses and briefcases to pull out those calculators. We are ending our 27th season here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we are proud to say that for 27 years, we have been using performing arts to develop meaningful life skills in young people. But now we have to say beyond young people, because our program serves individuals from 6 years old to adulthood. There was one year that we had a performer who was in their late 80s. I know.
Wow.
So when you have generations performing together, there's some magic that happens. And there are also opportunities to have intergenerational dialogue about the subject matter that we're teaching. So we use African and African American traditions to teach how to be the best that you could possibly be. And that's very empowering and inspirational when you have adults around you who can identify and see the potential and then help you to see it and then act on it.
I've been asking everyone, what are their amazing stories of impact? And I know that you have to have some. I know, actually, the young woman who sang last year at our gala came from Asante Children's Theater. And when I tell you she had everyone crying with her version of Andre's Rise Up. But tell me, what are some of your impact stories that move you?
We have generations of veterans or alums that are out in the world, not just the Indianapolis community, but in the world, working in the arts or working as lawyers, working as teachers. There's an alum, Jeffrey Page, who was on Broadway in Fela when that was on. He's done off-Broadway work as well. He trains in Africa and lives in New York and LA, and he comes back. What his proud is that he comes back to Indianapolis to give back. He directed our piece Genius last year, which was performed at the IRT. And he comes back and works with Ibada, Sabre Logan's program as well. We have Ryan Bennett, who is here in the city, and he is the CEO of Kai Entertainment. He does a lot of work around the community with Indiana Black Expo and other organizations where he is teaching young people photography and making movies. And he himself just performed at Diva Fest. There was Onyx Fest. He was in Onyx Fest and in a one-man show that was written by him and directed by another alum, Enos Adams, who is a member of ACT Improv Crew at Atlanta and Indianapolis. So there are a lot of networks that are taking place. We have individuals in California working in the entertainment industry. We have them abroad working. We have them in New York who are directors and writers. So, and then my son John Buckley, I know he's going to kill me, but he's not in performing arts, but he is in IT. And he's at a prominent law firm here in the city. But when you ask him, how did Asante Children's Theater, that experience, help him in what he is doing today? It's the learning how to network. It's learning how to work in groups. It's learning how to communicate up and down. It's learning how to be patient to get the outcome that you want. It's having empathy for other individuals as you strive to work together. So those are social skills that can be taught through the arts that higher ed institutions are saying our children don't have. So through theater, we're able to teach those skills.
Which is just what earlier in the program Drew Black was talking about.
Yes.
The connection between learning and the arts.
Yes.
So again, we're here with Keisha Dixon, who's the executive director of Asante Children's Theater. You can reach them at www.asantechildrenstheater. I'm going to stop spelling things because apparently I'm not good at that today. .org, AsanteChildren'sTheater.org.
And that's Asante, not Ashanti. The H is not there, and we always take the time to say to individuals that Asante, A-S-A-N-T-E, means thank you. And Ashanti is the name of a tribe in Ghana. So there was an Ashanti ballroom here in Indianapolis, and we did perform at the Ashanti. So it was Asante at Ashanti, which was kind of a tongue twister. But we like to teach at every turn, and we like to make sure that people understand the power of our history, and that if we don't remember and if we don't retell our stories, what do they say about history? If you don't know it, you're bound to repeat it.
Yes.
So we like to make sure that our children are informed, and when they're in class in school, they're able to speak from an informed position because of the education or information they've heard or learned through their experience with us.
So tell us about your new season begins July
1st. Yes, our fiscal year is July 1 to June 30th. And Deborah Asante, who is our founding artistic director, has put together a really good program. We have 3 programs in place. Our Prep for Life program, which serves young people from 6 to 18. And that group, those are kids that aren't quite sure. They might have low self-esteem. They might be a little apprehensive about being with strange groups or children they don't know or adults they don't know. They're not really keen on being in the public eye. We can take them and turn them around. And if anyone came to the Old School Special last weekend, they saw the evidence and they saw what happened with our prepsters, who gave just outstanding performances, singing songs from the 60s and 70s. So that program starts on September 16th. We usually have class sizes between 55 and 60 kids, and that's a 9-week program. Then we have our academy program, which are for the young people who have said, this is what I want to do. I'm ready to take it on. That program meets once a week, but 10 to 16 hours a week, and it's a 10-month program. You do have to audition to get in. And we have them audition 3 times a year for different projects. The ACT for Adults is a program for young people and adults who are 18 years and older who want to continue working in the arts here locally. We use that pool of talent for mentoring, for technicians, for facilitators. All of our facilitators that work with prep right now came through Asante, and they are ACT for Adults who are facilitators for that program. They also put on shows themselves. So in April, you can see an ACT Adults performance. Last year we did a play called Stoops that was written by Crystal V. Rhodes, and that was performed at Theater at the Fort.
And so if there are people listening who would like to try out, would like to be involved in one of these, what do they need to do?
Any person who is 12 to 18 years old, they can audition for the academy. Anyone who is 18 or older can audition for ACT for Adults, and we will have those auditions on Saturday, September the 9th. They can call 317-654-0264 to schedule their audition. We don't have walk-ins, and they will be given instructions on where to come to for that audition. They should prepare a 2-minute monologue, a 2-minute dance routine, no profanity, and a 2-minute song which will be sung a cappella, that is without music. It is not about, for the academy, it is not about being just top end creme de la creme. It is about getting through the audition process to at least show that you have the discipline to get through it, and we can take you from there. With the adults, we want a little bit more expertise because we may be using them as mentors, and they help to set the bar. If you are interested in Prep for Life, 6 to 18 years old do not have to audition. Though that program starts on September the on September the 16th. That's the next Saturday following Academy auditions. So anyone for Academy who does not land the audition can then go to Prep for Life and start at the beginning of the session.
Can you give us that phone number again?
That number is 317-654-0264.
And I'll repeat, www.asantechildrenstheater.org. I should note that while the grantees we've just talked to today have a strong focus on youth, this is not all that CICF supports. CICF grants fall into 5 broad categories of health and human services, education, civic and community improvement, arts and culture, and environment. CICF, its affiliates and funds, including donor-advised funds, awarded the most grants in the areas of education, 33%, and health and human services, 28% in 2016. And I want to thank Keisha for joining us today. And next up is Laurie Burns, CICF's Community Impact Coordinator, and we're going to talk scholarships.
Thanks, Tamara.
Indianapolis business news, religious news, entertainment news, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment Indianapolis business news, religious news, entertainment news, community news, business news, religious news, entertainment news.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Recorder Report. I'm Tamara Winfrey-Harris, Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Central Indiana Community Foundation, sitting in for Ebony Chappel. And we are here with Laurie Burns, CICF's Community Impact Coordinator. But before we talk to Laurie, I would like to mention that we are launching our own podcast next month in conjunction with WFYI. If you are interested in learning more about that, you can visit CICF.org or follow us on social media. We are launching in July, and one of our topics will be A Tale of Two Counties. So looking at food insecurity and how that looks differently between urban and suburban and rural areas across Hamilton and Marion counties. So be sure to look out for that. But first, we have Laurie Burns, who's CICF's Community Impact Coordinator. Laurie manages the CICF scholarship process and is here now to talk about scholarship opportunities and impact. Hello.
Hello.
So before I start asking you questions, Laurie, everyone should know that college readiness and success is one of our 3 community leadership initiatives at CICF. So family success and inspiring places are the other 2. So CICF's College Readiness and Success Initiative has a goal to help more students enroll and succeed in obtaining a post-secondary degree or certificate. There was a recent report released by Lumina Foundation that found that only 41% of Indiana students completed a degree, which means Indiana ranks 42nd in the nation for degree attainment, which isn't good. So at CICF, we think college should start in kindergarten, and that's why, for example, CICF convened local partners and provided initial funding for Marion County Promise, which engages youth with college readiness programming, visits to college campuses, $25 to open a College Choice 529 direct account, and up to $75 in matching funds. Programs like Marion County Promise pair well with CICF scholarships because they equip students with the tools and, more importantly, the mindset that's necessary to persist and obtain degrees or certificates. But CICF and its affiliates also award scholarships to help lessen the financial burden. In 2016, CICF, the Indianapolis Foundation, and Legacy Fund awarded $1.1 million in scholarships. So far in 2017, CICF has awarded an additional $1.1 million. We awarded 159 scholarships from 41 scholarship funds. Those scholarship recipients will work very closely with Laurie, who is with us now. So, tell us about scholarships at CICF.
Sure. So CICF has a variety of scholarship opportunities. We encourage any and all to explore those various options because the criteria for each of those varies. And we're convinced that there's an opportunity for everyone to apply. Those opportunities usually open in November of every year, and students have a few months after that with which to complete applications. One of the cool things about our scholarships is that students can use those award dollars to pursue multiple kinds of post-secondary credentials, including college and 2- and 4-year degrees, as well as credentials from technical and vocational schools.
That's fantastic. So, can you tell me a little bit about how CICF prepares students for college?
Sure. We work with local college readiness programming and organizations that provide college readiness programming to encourage students to enroll and kind of start having conversations early about college or what it takes to pursue credentials after high school. They also provide life skills in terms of preparing resumes, how to interview, or just general skill sets that we feel young adults should have growing up in this world. Many of them then will promote our scholarship opportunities or give you scholarship prep opportunities and telling you how to write scholarship essays or what to talk about in scholarship interviews. And some of those college readiness partners have specific scholarship funds under CICF that you can apply for.
You know, I had the opportunity this was my first year. Very often staff at CICF get a chance to participate in some of the scholarship community committees. And I got a chance to be on the Indianapolis Foundation Scholarship Committee. It was amazing, an amazing experience. I know intellectually how many amazing students there are out there doing good work who just need help to go to college, which is very expensive now. But you wouldn't believe the kids that came through and talked to us. I mean, I would give something to all of them if I could.
You're not alone in that feeling. I am glad I don't have to be the one making decision because I am continually impressed every year with the students that come through our door and apply for these scholarships. They just blow you away with their stories and their determination and their big dreams that they have post-high school.
Is there a particular story that resonates with you that you remember of a student that you feel like, I feel good to have impacted this person's life?
Sure. One of my, I think, the biggest stories I've seen recently was a student who his family had immigrated from Haiti following the earthquake that devastated that area a few years back. Growing up in central Indiana, he decided that he had a real passion for design and buildings. And a couple of years ago, we awarded him an Indianapolis Foundation scholarship that allowed him to attend Ball State, where he is currently going to be a sophomore this fall, studying architecture. And his goal is to take his architectural skills and build buildings in places like Haiti that can withstand natural disasters.
That's amazing. So are there scholarships that you think specifically some of the people listening might be interested in?
Sure, yes. So the first one is one we've already mentioned, which is the Indianapolis Foundation Scholarship. I can actually say that since 2012, a third of those scholarships awarded have gone to African American students. And in the past 4 years alone, those scholarships have totaled an amount of $250,000. Another one that comes to mind is the Butler University Black Alumni Association Endowed Scholarship that really targets Black students who want to attend Butler full-time and have some sort of engagement with their communities. There's also the Walter Blackburn Scholarship, which so that one looks at students that live within the Marion County public school system boundaries, and it targets minority students wanting to pursue degrees in architecture, design, performance art, and other similar creative degree programs.
So what do interested students need to do to apply? When can they start looking out for these scholarships? When is the money released? What does the timing look like?
The first thing to know is that every August we release an updated listing of all of our scholarship opportunities. We call this our scholarship guidebook that's available on our website at www.cicf.org/scholarships. That guidebook has all of the eligibility requirements. It has some basic frequently asked questions of things you should know before applying. And it provides a little bit about our philosophy in terms of trying to package students with multiple scholarships to give you the best opportunity to go to college, and how we do support students pursuing a variety of pathways post-college. It also should note that our scholarships can go to those graduating from high school, but also those that are already currently enrolled in college or have been out of the college system for a while and are looking to return to college. So August is the key month to know, and checking out our website. After that, applications will open usually in mid-November, and you have until early February to complete those applications. And then we do award notifications in May and June.
So now I'm going to ask you a personal question. You're not ready for this. So Laurie has been involved with us for a long time because as a student in high school, you participated in Legacy Fund's LINK program, right?
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? And this is Legacy Fund serving Hamilton County. But I think this is a really neat program that starts to teach kids philanthropy.
Legacy Fund has an opportunity, like Tamara said, to engage youth in high school to come together and look at the needs of the community, and specifically to assess applications and make grant award decisions, just like the adult board of directors does on a regular basis. That program changed my life. It's what introduced me to CICF in the first place, and also showed me that you could get into this work professionally. So I can directly attribute my work with LINK to coming back to CICF as a full-time employee. But it was so neat as a high school student to really understand all of the struggles that my community faced and be a part of the solution and supporting those doing this amazing work in the community. And to be surrounded with a group of like-minded high school students, freshmen through senior, who really had a passion for giving back and a passion for helping to create change.
So for more information on that, you'll go to legacyfund.org, legacyfund.org. And just like I asked Drew, how does one do what you do? What was your path?
I started by finding myself enrolled with the nonprofit management program at the School of Public Environmental Affairs in IU Bloomington. It's a fabulous program with a fabulous group of professors. If you're interested, you can certainly call them. They'd be happy to talk about their programming work. So I earned 2 degrees in nonprofit management and got lucky enough that after I finished my master's degree that CICF had an opening with scholarships. I had previously worked on college campuses post-college, and so it was great to be able to come back to CICF and work with college students again and support them in their endeavors to pursue their career professions.
So what is your favorite thing about your job?
The best part of my job is when I get to notify a student that they've received a scholarship. every year there's at least one that I call, and as soon as you tell them they have a scholarship, they're either screaming into the phone or they're crying uncontrollably, and it's hard not to just follow suit when you have those kinds of conversations. And even to see the parents' reactions, it's almost more heart-wrenching than the students, how excited the parents can get for their children and the success that they're having.
I agree. I was the person known for crying at every interview during the Indianapolis Foundation scholarship interview process. It is just talking to these kids just makes you feel so happy. So it was happy tears, but it's wonderful hearing their stories and seeing just all the potential.
Mm-hmm. It's why we keep a box of tissues in every selection committee room, and I usually have one on my desk somewhere, because these students are outstanding. Every single one of them deserves scholarship dollars, and if only we could have enough people creating these kinds of funds to give this money, to these students. And, if you're interested in starting a scholarship fund, I strongly recommend reaching out to our staff at CICF, because we do want these dollars, because there are so many students that don't get scholarships every year that we wish we could give money to.
So, Laurie, thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks to everyone else who stopped by. I just want to remind everyone, www.alnd.org to reach information about Assistance League and Operation School Bell. stfloriancenter.org to learn about St. Florian Center, and Asante Children's Theater.org to learn more about Asante Children's Theater. And you can learn more about CICF at CICF.org. And please follow us on social media and look out for our new podcast. Thank you also to the Indianapolis Recorder for allowing us to spend 2 hours with its listeners today. I hope it's been helpful and inspiring, and wherever you are right now, Ebony, your job is really hard. For more information about CICF, again, CICF.org, and remember to sign up for our newsletter. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we hope you'll download our new podcast, For Good, Stories About Passion, Purpose, and Progress in Marion and Hamilton counties, brought to you in partnership with WFYI. The first episode launches in July. Thank you for being here with me, and good evening.
The Indianapolis Recorder. Business news, religious news, entertainment point of view, community news.